Hey folks, Gary here with Paramount. Today is September 11th, 2025. It's around noon. I'm sure many of you, like me, are very upset at the fact that Charlie Kirk was assassinated yesterday. And I think anytime that any sort of event like this takes place, especially hours, even days afterward, there's just a lot of bad information, a lack of information. And in that vacuum of not having good information, there's a lot of speculation that goes on. People start going through videos and footage and pulling out every little pixel and, turning fairly normal and innocuous things into these grand conspiracies. And it's a little tough to digest. It's a little tough to understand what's going on. And it just makes everything very, very confusing. Well, last night after this event took place, like many of you, I was trying to figure out what was going on, waiting for additional updates from authorities. Hey, have they caught this person? All this other stuff. And in the process of that, I came across all kinds of weird, speculative, and or, honestly, I still think a lot of this stuff is put out. Well, there's people trying to get views and clicks and just saying whatever. And then on top of that, I do think there's always a certain amount of disinformation that people are trying to put out to just confuse people, to instigate and provoke people as well. So as I was up looking for more information last night, some of the crazy conspiracy theories that I saw were things like, Charlie Kirk was actually shot from the rear. This was actually, he was staged by Charlie Kirk. He's still alive because of supposed hand signals from his own security detail. This was also staged by Charlie Kirk. It was supposed to hit him in the chest. We'll talk about the body armor that he was wearing. And, it was a staged event that went wrong and he was accidentally killed. So there's a lot of nonsense out there that's going on that I don't believe any of it. So what I want to do is just kind of give you some facts, and we're going to go through some of the footage real quick of what took place and just give you some solid information, or as best as I can provide. And the other thing that I would really encourage you to do is be patient, wait, don't jump onto social media, don't buy into every single crazy conspiracy theory. Wait till you have all of the information, or at least more information than we have now, where you can do a better job logically assessing the facts before we go down some deep, dark paths. All right, so let's just jump into it. I'm gonna try to keep this as clean as possible so people don't have to relive this stuff. Look, when you have people like Charlie Kirk, who I'm a big fan of, and we have consumed as much content as we have, if you're like me, of Charlie Kirk, you feel like you know him. And that's why these events are so disturbing, so traumatic. Like, you feel like you know this person. And the fact is one of the reasons that certain entities wanted Charlie Kirk dead is because he was so effective. He's one of the most convincing, compelling, articulate speakers on the traditional American side of the aisle. We'll just leave it like that. And he was extremely effective. So that's why they want him dead. But that's also why that we that are fans of Charlie Kirk find this so traumatic, right? Because we feel like we know this person. Because even in a virtual sense, we spent so much time with him. But anyways, here we are right here. He's talking. This is just moments before any shots are fired. And one of the things that you couldn't tell, or I couldn't tell from the initial video, is the fact that he is clearly wearing body armor. I want you to look at this outline. Without a doubt, he is wearing body armor. Now, there's lots of different types of body armor out there. There's some of the more advanced stuff is like this composite body armor. This stuff is very effective. It's super lightweight, and what's great about this type of body armor is that when rounds hit it, even at high angles, and I've tested this stuff, but even when rounds hit this type of body armor at acute angles, this type of body armor does a really good job of absorbing the projectile, stopping obviously penetration, but it also prevents fragmentation and deflection and ricochets as well. So this is a really good body armor. The problem with this body armor, as you guys can see, even there's some newer stuff out there that's slightly thinner, that's more advanced, but it's still pretty thick. When you're trying to wear body armor and keep the lowest profile and not even be able to see that body armor, especially under something like a t-shirt, most people are going to go with some sort of metallic body armor. This is a titanium-based alloy. It is fairly lightweight, but most importantly, what you guys can see is that it's extremely thin. This type of body armor is very easy to conceal, even under something like a t-shirt. And I think this is very, very similar to what Charlie Kirk is actually probably wearing right now. One thing I want you to notice about this body armor is that we have some really nice contours with this all the way around. And there's some benefits with that when it comes to concealment, right? We can keep this body armor under a shirt like this. It minimizes its profile additionally on top of being much thinner. The disadvantages of metallic body armor like this is you guys can see that if I do take a round, especially it hits this contoured area, it can and does deflect up toward the wearer. Now, this particular plate I have in vests over there, and with that system, I actually have a whole nother layer of ballistic protection, some Kevlar that actually protects me from fragmentation from the body armor itself. So I want you to notice here, right here at the top, not only do we have this contoured area, but at the very edge of this, we actually have bevels all the way around that make it less likely to snag, cut, or anything like that, and the edges are pretty smoothed over. So it's much more comfortable. So this stuff is very effective in low profile situations to stopping direct impacts. You can still get injured and possibly even killed from fragmentation of metallic body armor. That's why I'm not the biggest fan of it. And if you are gonna wear this, I can tell you that this is designed to have additional protection in and around it that's going to prevent injury from that fragmentation and or death. But I want us to see what's going on in this particular instance with Charlie Kirk. So number one, we can definitely see that there is body armor there. And then I want us to move forward. I'm gonna zoom in as tightly as possible just to, again, try to keep this as clean as possible. So right here, we have the first frame in this particular video, and I don't know what frame rate this video was shot in. It was slowed down. This is the first sign of impact. I want you to notice with this shirt, we actually have the shirt, it is violently disturbed, but this shirt collar is moved all the way up to his ear. When I first saw this video, what it looked like to me is that Charlie Kirk was shot in the left side, and it looked like a direct hit into the left side of his neck, and I was also looking for an exit wound. But that doesn't explain why the shirt was moved the way that it was. As we move forward a little bit, I want you to see, folks, right here. I want you to notice that there is a spot on the shirt, and that spot on the shirt also correlates with the very top edge of this body armor. And you can also see the first appearance of an entrance wound, and that's really weird too. So when we see an entrance wound from a firearm, especially on the skin and something in an area that's soft tissue like the neck, we normally don't see such a large hole there with the entrance wound. We just don't. When skin is pierced, whether it's a projectile or anything else, you know, that stuff stretches out of the way, then it closes back in on itself. I've talked about this many times with 5.56 and even 9mm wounds, and I have seen 30 cal wounds and even larger wounds. A lot of times with these smaller caliber wounds, even up to 30 cal, it's hard to see a entrance wound at all, especially with 5.56, 9mm. A lot of times you got to stretch the skin. There's techniques that we use when we're assessing casualties where we stretch the skin apart and we're looking for those less than obvious wound channels with an entrance wound. Here we see a fairly massive wound. What is very clear to me is that we had a round that impacted the upper edge of his body armor, and then that round deflected directly upward. So now what we're dealing with is not only a deformed projectile, but it's also now moving upward, which would make the wound larger, both because of its deformation and now its angle of entry, and it's also probably fragmented as well. And that also makes a lot of sense to me because there is a side view of this footage. You know, originally I thought that round went directly into his neck and we would see some sort of exit wound on the back. I never saw that exit wound, and I think it's because basically we had that round hit, deflect directly upward and up into his cranial cavity. And I'm fairly certain that that projectile is still inside of his body. I also, just watching this and his reaction and the way that he seized, and I know there was a lot of blood and things after this. I think Charlie was dead the moment right at impact. I don't think he even knew what hit him, regardless of all the blood loss, all of those things. And I know later on, there was reports that he was in critical condition, that there was a pulse, and they may have gotten him to a hospital. They may have hooked him up to some machines on life support, and they may have had a mechanical pulse, but that doesn't mean that he was alive. But I think he was dead immediately. And I think that, as sad as this whole event is, to me, that brings a little bit of solace to me, because the last thing I would want for this guy that I feel like I'm friends with, even though I've never met him. You know, he wasn't suffering, and he wasn't having to sit there and all these things go through his mind about his family and all these things. So now it's about 12:45 Eastern time, September 11th, and we still don't know who the shooter is. There are reports that a firearm has been found in the woods near the location. It is a rifle, that there was some evidence of leftist ideology involved. I'm actually waiting to get confirmation on some of the documents that were supposedly leaked from the ATF. I would like to see some sort of confirmation before we dig too deep into that. I think, you know, there's a lot of bait being put out there for people to take. And we saw this during Butler. We see this in every sort of these types of tragedies. You just got to be patient. You got to be careful. I don't know what to say. Just be mindful. The main point of this video is give you some solid information that I think is going to be confirmed. I feel very good about putting this information out there. I think it's correct. And hopefully it will rule out some of the other nonsense that many of you are hearing. We're going to stay on this. We're going to continue to monitor what's going on. We'll probably do a live stream. Again, today is Thursday, September 11th. You know, we'll probably do a live stream this evening. Make sure you join us. We want to hear from you. We want to kind of, everybody can talk this through. You know, we can start to digest and process some of that information as it's coming in during that live stream together in real time, sanely and logically. So make sure you join the live stream and you can get in on that conversation, and we'll read your comments. We'll take your questions. You know, the last thing I want to leave you with is don't take the bait out there of, you know, talking about violence or definitely engaging in violence or even protests or any of that other nonsense. I think we need to live by Charlie Kirk's example. He would not see the truth. He was able to defend what he believed in, and he would not back down. And that's what made him a real threat. He was able to do it respectfully. He was extremely compelling. He was extremely good. And you could just watch him in his videos. Like this person that was so militant against him, you could see their mind and their opinions changing as he spoke. That's what made him such a threat to the left. And look, I believe the left is a cult. I believe that it is authoritarian. And I believe they are willing to go to any lengths necessary, whether it's demonize people, call people bigots, racists, Nazis, put them in jail, have them canceled, silence them. This is what the left does. But we need to follow Charlie Kirk's example. Don't even entertain any sort of violence. You need to protect yourself. You need to stay armed. You need to stay ready. But you also need to be able to defend your truth and not back down, not even an inch. Stand up for what you believe in. Debate others, make sure that your voice is heard, because that's what Charlie Kirk did, is he made people realize, hey, there are a lot of other people that believe the same things as I do, and I'm not going to be silenced. Anyways, I hope this was in some way helpful to everybody out there. Anyways, until next time, stay armed, stay ready. We'll talk to you soon.